When you enter into a black hole, into what's called the black hole's event horizon, that's the point of no return. That matter is going to be pulled into the very middle of the black hole, which is the rip in space-time itself, called the singularity. And where that matter goes, no one knows. And unfortunately, all of our theories, Einstein's theories of relativity and the theory of quantum mechanics, they all fall apart at that point. Because conditions are obviously very extreme there. So at the moment, our science just isn't good enough to understand what happens when matter enters this singularity, other than the fact that it disappears from our universe. One of the theories that's out there is that the black hole creates a hole in space-time, that in turn creates a wormhole, and that somewhere that matter pours back out, either into our universe or it pours out into a potentially a parallel universe.
You have to know, all right, we've got the wormhole, something goes in, or maybe it goes in, but where does it come out? And there's been a lot of speculation about that. Is the wormhole, is that Einstein-Rosen bridge, taking us to another part of the universe, or the known universe, or our universe, however you want to describe that. But the other question is, does it go out to another universe?
To clarify what Mr. Schwedek was saying, wormholes potentially have the power to transport what travels through them to another point in space, and that'd be a completely random point in space. This is significant to the human race because of how limiting our current methods of space travel really are. The farthest a human has ever traveled away from Earth is the Moon, and that's just 238,900 miles. Although that seems like a substantial distance, the next closest star to our solar system is over 4 light years away. And at the time, we have no conceivable way to actually get remotely close to that distance. It's really just impossible. And knowing that our Earth has an expiration date, our lack of an ability to travel deep into space is going to become a massive problem in the future. Wormholes could potentially be the phenomenon that saves the human race. When the time comes that we finally need to locate other planets to inhabit, it's possible that traveling through a wormhole could be our only option. With that in mind, the fact that our government has virtually ignored this theory after so many acclaimed scientists, including Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and Richard Dawkins, have voiced their support of their existence is astounding.
So a wormhole can be a shortcut. It can be a way to get around all of the space that you have to travel through. If you believe that the speed of light really is a speed limit, you can't go faster than the speed of light, a wormhole provides you a way, maybe, to still go slower than the speed of light, but get to where you want to go much faster because the distance is much shorter. It's really just a shortcut through space itself.
At the end of Mr. Schwedek's soundbite you heard earlier, he briefly mentions the idea that a wormhole could not only lead to another part of our own universe, but potentially a completely different universe. I researched that theory, and it turns out that there has been some very extensive work done on the subject, which is still completely hypothetical. Basically, the theory requires that our universe was birthed from a black hole in another universe. This is a very new theory for the creation of our universe, and it states that a 4-dimensional star collapsed into a black hole, ejecting debris that became our universe. If that theory is actually accurate, the possibility remains that other universes could have also spawned from that black hole, and wormholes could be the possible connection from our universe to the rest. Another theory that relates to inter-universal travel is the multiverse theory, which states that an infinite number of parallel universes exist with our own universe, and that wormholes are a way to travel between those universes. The ideas can really be mind-blowing and hard to grasp, so I decided to bring up the idea with Mr. Wirth in order to hear his thoughts on the subject.
I have read a few authors who have talked about the possibility of wormholes possibly leading to other universes, and that would be a parallel universe. Now there are all kind of different levels of parallel universes. I think at last count 5 or 6, but the simplest one is that our universe, the one that we know, is infinitely big, and we are limited to how much of it we can see because the universe is only 13.7 billion years old. So anything past that point, at 15 billion light years out, let's say, or 20 billion light years out, we can't see simply because the universe isn't big enough to, isn't old enough for light to have been able to travel to reach us yet. You know, it's still on its way to reaching us. So those parts of our universe are inaccessible to us and not observable by us. But with wormholes, we could potentially go into those parts of our universe that are parallel to us that we can't see. There are other parallel universes idea too, that the Big Bang that created us should not have just happened once, it should happen lots of times, and so there are potentially an infinite number of other universes out there created by Big Bangs, and whether or not wormholes would allow us to travel to those, I'm not sure, you know, if anybody's written about that, but obviously it's very, very hypothetical.
So clearly when wormholes could potentially give humans access to other universes that would otherwise be completely out of reach, you begin to wonder why exactly the United States government refuses to fund the research we need to make progress on the subject. Even if cynics say the theory cannot be accurate, the overall benefits of the discovery of a wormhole almost infinitely outweigh putting just a bit of money into the subject. The theory has gained legitimacy in the scientific community, has been backed up by legendary scientists for decades, and its lack of funding is nothing short of deplorable. The next excerpt from my interview with Mr. Shedwick features his overall understanding of time travel through wormholes.
Comes out at the other end of the wormhole. Does it come out in something that we recognize as our real time, or it would probably be in some other time? We're still going on the basic Einstein special and general relativity theories. And going through a wormhole is going to bring us out through another time.
Time travel has always been treated as science fiction, and is generally not taken very seriously. With wormholes, however, that can all be changed. Not only does a wormhole allow what passes through it to travel to another point in space, but it also allows it to travel to another point in time. This is because space and time are intertwined together, which allows for time travel to be possible through wormholes. It is essentially our only feasible method of time travel that currently exists. If we were able to use wormholes to travel through time, the possibilities would be endless. Scientifically, we could finally answer questions that have plagued humanity for centuries, like how our universe formed, the mysteries of our own race, if alien life really exists, and the list goes on. Time travel is just too tempting to pass up, not just for science fiction writers, but also for scientists. Time travel used to be considered a taboo in the science world, but because of wormholes, it is starting to become a more accepted and understood theory that is slowly gaining more traction in the scientific community. As this occurs, citizens of Earth need to stop and ask themselves exactly why, after so much factual and scientific evidence has been presented for these miracles of the universe, that our government is not doing anything to further our knowledge of them.